What's cooking? Good lookins! Welcome back to The Escape Plan, where today we are going to be talking about something that's so important to your development and to your growth to understand and most importantly implement. What I'm talking about here is probably one of the biggest things that has helped me achieve 10, 20, 30K and more every single month is just this one thing, right? It is, I'm taking this off because it's uncomfortable to wear right now because it's so hot in London. And I'm very actually excited. I'm leaving London quite soon for like a month. So yeah, we're gonna be leaving the office, the studio, and we're gonna be going somewhere else. But what I'm talking about is your environment. And the thing with your environment is it will control you if you do not control it. And that is something that is incredibly important to understand. So most people, right, they live in an environment that normalizes comfort, excuses, mediocrity, right? That's what a lot of people live in, an environment like that. They're consuming content that numbs the brain instead of sharpening the brain. And on top of that, they're surrounded by people who aren't chasing anything big. And that's why a lot of people stay stuck, because when your environment looks like that, it's very hard to not continue living that way. So we're going to be talking about three key parts of your environment. So you have your physical environment, you have your social environment, and then you have the mental environment. So first part of the environment, your physical environment. What is actually around you, right? Your neighborhood, your home, your apartment, whatever. Because let's say, right, if I could show you my desk right now, you will see that it is pretty clear. There is pretty much nothing on here that takes away my focus. There's my watch, there's my AirPods, there's like my cup of coffee, wallet, keys, water, notepad, pen, keyboard, mouse, laptop, screen. That's it. That is it. Those are the only things on my desk. And what that allows me to do is this is how you need to look at it, right? This needs to be a reflection. Where you work needs to be a reflection of your like mental space. So if on here I had like an iPad that was like playing Netflix on it in the background, I had a bunch of like notes and pieces of paper of things that like I needed to do. So like, I don't know, stuff to do with my tax, stuff to do with my job, stuff to do potentially with my university, stuff to do with like plans that I've got going on with friends, like trips for the summer, whatever. That is gonna provide you, it's gonna scatter your focus basically, right? And it's not gonna allow you to stay focused on what you need to be doing. And so this is another thing as well that's important. It's the same with like what's on your laptop. So a lot of people, especially when they get into this space, they'll like keep all their tabs open. Like they'll have like 20 tabs open. And I'm guilty of this too. It's something that I sometimes do. But obviously like I always know what I'm gonna do the night before. Like I'm looking right here, I have my to-do list, I have everything, right? So I have the clarity that I need and I know what I need to do and I get it done, no matter what. The tabs doesn't really affect me, but I probably should get rid of them as well. And you should too. Like if you are focused on watching this is the only tab that should be open. Full screen, so there's no other YouTube video recommendations, notepad, pen, that's it. That's all that should be on your desk. And if you are doing something else, like you're on a sales call, for example, the only thing that should be open is Zoom. And things like this are so important because it's going to allow you to have so much clarity. And when you have clarity, you can focus, right? So a few tips to help you with your physical environment. Obviously, where you live and everything like that, maybe right now you cannot change, but what you can change is like, okay, let's say you're working in your room. I would always recommend not working in your room personally. The reason for that is your room you should associate with like sleeping, right? So work in an office, work in like a kitchen, living room. But again, that can like affect how you kind of work. Some people can work in their room and they're completely fine. I would always recommend not, but if that is the best place you can work, given the options you have, like kitchen, living room, whatever, then work in your room. But if you can work elsewhere, like, I don't know, you can work in a WeWork, right? You can rent out an office space, you can get that membership, it's not too expensive. That is something that is really important, because then you're like coming to this place and this is where you work and that's it. Nothing else, work. And that's the kind of association you need to be having. So your workspace needs to provide you, with clarity, you need to have a clean desk, get like headphones that keep you locked in, have like a notepad with your to-do list, with your goals, all of that things to remind you, like when you look at it, yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing. Okay, cool, crack on, right? So that is super important. It's your actual physical environment. The next thing is obviously your social environment. And now I want you to look at the people you spend the most time with. I'm sure you've heard this saying, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at, really identify and do an audit of your circle. Who do you talk to every day? Are they pulling you back or are they pushing you? Right? Really think about that. Because for me, when I started, I was in a uni house. I was around people who always wanted to like party, wanted to relax, wanted to do this, and they weren't aligned with me. And so I could have chosen to like succumb to that, but what I chose instead was to surround myself with people who, were where I wanted to be. There's a saying that you should be the slowest runner in your pack, right? So you have to surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, with people who are better than you, because that will motivate you, that will inspire you, and that will provide you with competition as well. You should never be the best in your circle. You should always be the slowest, right? And that isn't to say you need to cut off all the people in your life. That's not what I'm saying at all. But understand your time, your energy, your focus. Those are things that are crucial. Understand where they're going, because you have limited of those every single day, right? So look at where it's going and really decide to control it better. Because if it's going to spending time with people who aren't aligned with you and your goals, they aren't pushing you forward, they're pulling you back to where they are, and they don't inspire you, then I would recommend surrounding yourself with people who are going to provide you with that inspiration and that competition, like we spoke about earlier. So to add to that, you don't need to have a physical environment, because what probably popped into your head there is like, well, Nico, like, how do I go about finding people, right? So that is why obviously with my program, I provide like a community, right? It's super important, that aspect, because your digital environment can affect you the same as your real life environment, depending on how much time you're spending in the digital environment, right? It can affect you the exact same. So I would recommend, look, if you don't, obviously, if you want to join my program, my community, there'll be a link down below, but this isn't about that. This is about, okay, how can you do that? If you could do it for free, I could potentially start a free community. I wouldn't mind doing that, so you guys can like connect and network. But really just ask yourself, like, think about it. Like, there's Facebook groups, there's forums, there's like Reddit, there is like opportunities like school that are free. But the thing is with free is like, again, you're not surrounding yourself with like the right people who are where you want to be. Again, you're surrounding yourself, like, you're not going to necessarily be the slowest runner in your pack. But more than welcome, like, try to find those online communities on WAP or on school or whatever that are free and that allow you to see the people who are seeing success. You can pick their brain, you can ask them questions, because that's super important, right? Because if you're surrounding yourself with the people who are where you want to be, naturally you are way more likely to get there than if you were to do it all alone, right? So keep that in mind, look for the free opportunities. And obviously, like I said, if you want to invest into yourself and be around people who push you, my community will do that. I promise you for an absolute fact, because they'll hold you accountable as well. And they want to see you win. But anyway, that is the social environment that you need to look at and take control of. The next thing is your mental environment, right? So you need to look at the content you're consuming. Really look at it. What kind of content are you watching on Instagram, YouTube, Netflix? Is it educational? Are you like benefiting from it, right? Again, I've come from a background where when I was a kid, I used to love watching movies, and I still do to this day. And I think it's very important to have like off time where your brain is like shut off, personally. So that will always be a part of my life, watching movies, watching TV. But I do that at the end of my day when I'm done with work, right? And I do that not all the time as well, right? So you have to control it, like the content. The people you're following on Instagram, are they actually providing you with the value, the inspiration, the motivation, whatever it is that you use it for? Or is it a distraction, right? Next thing, look at grab your phone, look at the screen time for Netflix, TikTok, YouTube, all of this stuff. Audit, look at the environment. If obviously you're spending 3 hours a day on Netflix, delete the app for the love of God and replace it with something else, because that's 3 hours a day, let's say for example, that you can replace with education, with learning, with implementing. And you can get very far with just 3 hours a day. You don't need to be doing 10, 12-hour work days, right? You can get really far with just focused work 3 hours a day. Okay, so that's what I really would recommend. On top of that, it's not just the content you're consuming, it's that voice in your head, that inner bitch, and about keeping that voice in your head that's preventing you from doing certain things, and it's telling you to go out, it's telling you to go for the distractions, procrastinate, it's doing all of that. It's telling you this, and it's that voice in your head that everyone has. It's control it. There's ways you can do it. The first one is visualization. It's a very powerful tool, right? Visualizing where you want to be and how it's going to feel, most importantly, is super powerful, because that energy is contagious and it can really get you excited to get there and to do the work to get there. On top of that, you have things like affirmations. So it's important, look at how you're talking and how you speak to yourself. Do you put yourself down or do you raise yourself up, right? Because a lot of people put themselves down, especially in this day and age that we live in. On top of that, to add to that, comparison is the thief of joy. If you're following people just because you're like, wow, they've got an amazing lifestyle, I want their lifestyle, unfollow them. Because they're providing you with nothing but that negative energy, right? You don't need to be comparing yourselves with other people. You're in chapter 1. Do not compare your chapter 1 to their chapter 10 or 12 or 13. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to me even. I'm ahead of you guys. I've been in this game for a really long time. So understand that and implement it correctly, right? So those are the main things, right? You need to look at your physical environment, look at your social environment, look at your mental environment, do an audit of the whole thing, and look at really where you're spending your time, your focus, and your energy, and redirect it to the right things that matter, because it can help you so much. Your environment plays a massive factor into your growth. In terms of what I want you to do literally right after watching this video, clean your room, clean your office, clean where you work. Just have a clean environment that doesn't distract you. Then I want you to unfollow at least 20 accounts, right? If you follow 4,000 people, you got to do a lot more than 20. But unfollow at least 20 accounts that are useless to you right now and useless to your goal, because you're either comparing yourself to them and you're not learning anything from them, or it's meme accounts that are just pointless, right? And they distract you. Next, join communities, masterminds, groups that allow you to surround yourself with the people you want to be around. And the final thing is have this all on paper. Look at it all on paper. When you do this, put it on paper, because it's important to do that and to see it for yourself. And similar to the identity, it's like, ask yourself, what would that 10K a month version of me do? What kind of environment would he be in, or she, right? That's it for today. See you guys tomorrow.